Hello, family. Enjoy this relaxing moment with Surly Tales. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. It means the world to us. Also, share this video with your friends and loved ones, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future videos from us. Thank you as you do so. Sit back and relax as we dive into the story. Zara Omotayo sat quietly in the back seat of a sleek SUV navigating the bustling streets of Lagos. Billboards displayed her face beside that of Tari Okonkwo, the billionaire magnate she would marry in days. Beneath her calm exterior, her heart pounded with dread. The city buzzed about the wedding of the year, an event meant to unite two powerful families. It wasn't her idea to make it such a spectacle. Her once proud family in Ibadan had spiraled into debt, and Tari's proposal promised salvation. Though he lavished her with gifts, Zara felt imprisoned by obligations. Something in Tari's eyes unsettled her, and his dismissive tone sometimes sent chills down her spine. At the estate's gates, journalists snapped photos of her arrival. Inside, the foyer teemed with florists and decorators. Staff bowed in respect, yet Zara detected tension. People whispered of women who had vanished without explanation. One maid confided, "He's too powerful, no one dares speak ill of him." That evening, Zara joined Tari for dinner in a candlelit dining room. "The papers say 500 guests are attending," he remarked. "A grand affair." She forced a small smile. "Just far bigger than I imagined." He leaned back, regal and confident. "It's not just a wedding, it's a partnership that will set us above the rest." His emphasis on partnership made Zara uneasy, as though she were an asset more than a bride. Later, alone in her suite, she studied financial documents a family friend had forwarded. On the surface, Tari's empire seemed legitimate, until she noticed suspicious wire transfers and shell companies. Hush money appeared to flow in every direction. Her phone buzzed. "Zara," her mother urged, "remember our family's future depends on this." Swallowing her anxiety, Zara assured her mother she would try. But her gut told her something was wrong. Time was running out. 2 nights before the ceremony, she roamed the silent corridors. In the mansion's expansive library, she reached for a dusty book. A photograph slipped free, showing Tari with a bruised woman whose eyes glinted with fear. On the back, in shaky lettering, were the words, "If you're reading this, run." Her heart thundered. That afternoon, Zara approached one of the older housemaids who seemed sympathetic. "Please," Zara murmured. "I found a photo. A woman, bruised. Do you know anything about her?" The maid glanced around warily before leaning in. "We don't speak of her. Who's the last fiancé? She vanished, and no one ever saw her again." Shaken, Zara confronted Tari the next morning while they strolled through the rose garden. "I found an old photo. It was unsettling." Tari's expression hardened briefly before he forced a genial smile. "An ex who tried to smear my name. Don't let it worry you." That afternoon, her father called. "My daughter," he said, voice low and weary, "we owe everything to Tari's generosity. Let's not upset him." Zara hesitated. "Papa, what if Tari's not who we think he is? I've seen disturbing things." Her father sighed. "I know you're afraid, but we must honor our agreement. The family can't survive without his help." She hung up, fighting back tears. The weight of her family's troubles pressed on her like a vice. That evening, she recorded a video on her phone, detailing her suspicions about the photo, the finances, and staff whispers. If something happened to her, the truth would remain. Later, a timid knock sounded on her door. A maid stood there, eyes darting nervously. "Madam," she whispered, "be careful." Others asked too many questions and disappeared. Zara pressed for details, but the maid shook her head and fled. The estate brimmed with flowers and gold decor as the wedding day drew closer. Local stations ran stories about the event of the season, praising Zara's beauty and Tari's power. Yet off-camera, she felt his silent control closing in. On the final night, Zara paced in her suite. Her wedding dress hung like a beacon of doom. She thought of the mysterious woman's warning, "Run." Could she truly escape? Her family's debts weighed heavily on her conscience. She sank into a chair, staring at her reflection in the vanity mirror. "I have to know the truth," she whispered. If Tari was a monster, she wouldn't stay silent. She backed up her files, hoping at least one copy would survive if he discovered her plan. Somewhere, distant thunder rumbled, foreshadowing the storm that lay ahead. Dawn arrived too soon. The estate hummed with last-minute preparations. As Zara dressed, her stomach twisted with dread. In a few hours she would stand at the altar, cameras rolling. If she exposed Tari prematurely, no one might believe her. But if she said nothing, she risked condemning herself to whatever fate had befallen the woman in the photo. Clenching her fists, Zara reminded herself of one certainty. She had to protect her family, but she also had to protect herself. One more day, she told herself. Tomorrow she would face the world, and if need be, reveal whatever shadows lurked behind Tari's golden empire. Zara awoke from a restless night, haunted by the echo of a woman's sobs. She already knew she wasn't the first bride-to-be in Tari's life, but questions churned within her. Who was the mysterious woman, and what had happened to her? Over breakfast, Tari wore his usual polished smile. "Busy day?" he asked casually. Zara nodded, her mind elsewhere. Once he left for meetings, she cornered the senior house staff, asking if anyone recognized the bruised woman in the photo. Fear flickered in their eyes. "Her name was Somto," one older maid finally whispered. "She was engaged to Oga Tari, then vanished." The revelation rattled Zara. Another fiancé had disappeared, presumably after crossing Tari. Determined to find more clues, she ventured to the estate's basement, where dusty boxes held old photos. Rifling through them, she discovered multiple images of Somto, radiant at first, then bruised and fearful. Zara snapped pictures with her phone, a chill running down her spine. A noise upstairs forced her to hide behind a shelf as a guard briefly entered, then left. Heart pounding, she hurried back to her suite, transferring the photos to her laptop and creating backups. That evening, she carefully questioned the maid who'd spoken of Somto. "Did she try to leave Tari?" "Yes, madam," the maid said, voice quivering. "She threatened to break the engagement, and then, gone. We never learned how." Zara clenched her fists, thinking of her own peril. Like Somto, she was engaged to a powerful man whose charming facade masked something sinister. Confronting Tari with this information seemed reckless, but remaining silent felt like a death sentence. Later, she tried a subtle approach. "I found some old photos," she told him, feigning casual interest. "There was a woman named Somto." He stiffened before shrugging dismissively. "A desperate ex who wanted money. It ended badly. Don't let it concern you." Her pulse hammered at his icy tone. Alone again, Zara reviewed the evidence. Images of bruises, wary staff warnings, and Somto's unexplained disappearance. She recorded a short video testimony, fearful she might vanish too. Wedding preparations intensified. Caterers, decorators, and journalists flooded the estate. Everyone praised the upcoming wedding of the year, oblivious to Zara's private horror. She felt suffocated, knowing Tari might suspect her prying. A maid warned, "Oga Tari knows you're digging. Please be careful." That night, Zara called her mother, hoping for understanding. Instead, she was urged to proceed with the wedding. "We can't lose his support," her mother pleaded, desperation evident in her voice. Frustrated and alone, Zara decided she had to act carefully. She copied all her evidence to a flash drive, hiding it in her luggage. She refused to end up like Somto, silenced or missing. The following morning, she returned to the basement, determined to see if there were diaries or letters that once belonged to Somto. She found only fragments, a handwritten note stuck between photo albums that read, "I must get away before it's too late." The scrawled letters were shaky, as if penned in great distress. Zara pocketed it, her heart pounding at the thought of how terrified Somto must have been. If only someone had intervened in time. Before leaving, she overheard two guards whispering near the stairwell. "Oga Tari says to watch her closely," one said. "He doesn't trust how curious she is." Zara froze, realizing the net around her was tightening. If she made one wrong move, she might disappear too. As dawn gave way to midday, The estate buzzed with more tasks. Zara paced in her suite, recalling the haunting message. If you're reading this, run. But how? Tari's reach was vast, and her family relied on the marriage. She teetered between fear and fury. An idea took root: she could expose him publicly at the wedding, when all eyes would be on them. Maybe then the truth would be undeniable. Somto's fate fueled her resolve. Zara refused to be the next casualty. Stepping to the window, she gazed at the cityscape and whispered, "I won't let him destroy me." Somto's bruised face flickered in her memory, and Zara vowed to see this through. The next day found her reviewing her plan. She'd compile her evidence, wait for the perfect moment during the ceremony, and reveal everything. Yes, it was risky, but she needed a stage big enough that Tari couldn't just silence her. Through the day, tension mounted. Tari's smile never faltered, yet Zara sensed his watchful gaze. She feigned involvement in dress fittings and guest lists, hiding her true intentions. That evening, as she lay in bed, she pictured Somto's final hours. Had she tried to flee? Had Tari cornered her first? The thought chilled Zara to the bone. She reaffirmed her plan. If anyone vanished now, it wouldn't be her. Thunder rumbled faintly outside, echoing the fear in her heart and hinting at the upheaval soon approaching. Exhausted yet determined, she drifted into uneasy sleep, clutching her phone like a talisman. The morning of the wedding dawned bright, but Zara felt only a cold knot in her stomach. Wedding planners buzzed through the estate like bees, adjusting flowers, testing sound systems, and finalizing seating charts. Cameras arrived early, capturing the opulence on display: gold-accented tablecloths, imported orchids, and crystal chandeliers. It was the perfect backdrop for a fairy tale ceremony. Except the fairy tale was a lie. Zara stood by the window of her suite, dressed in a silk robe, staring blankly at the reflection of her wedding gown behind her. Its intricate beading and layers of tulle shimmered in the light, but she felt no joy. All she could think about were the hidden files on her flash drive and the photograph of Somto's bruised face. A knock on the door startled her. "Come in," she called, steeling herself. It was the makeup artist, an elegant woman with a calming smile. "You must be excited," the woman said, setting up her brushes. "Such a big day." Zara forced the corners of her mouth upward. "This big day indeed." She sat silently as the artist worked, applying foundation, eyeshadow, and lipstick with expert precision. Zara wondered if the woman saw through her facade. Could she sense the bride's inner turmoil? Every brushstroke felt like a mask sealing away her dread. When the makeup was finished, Zara hardly recognized her own reflection. She looked regal, every imperfection erased. The makeup artist beamed. "You're stunning." "Thank you," Zara managed, though her voice trembled. As the artist left, she glanced one last time at the wedding gown. She had to remember her plan: survive the ceremony until the perfect moment, then reveal everything. Downstairs, music began to play. Guests had arrived in droves: business tycoons, politicians, celebrities, everyone eager to witness the union of Tari Okonkwo and the beautiful Zara Omotayo. An attendant approached her suite with a polite bow. "Madam, it's almost time." Taking a shaky breath, Zara stepped into the gown, feeling its heavy weight against her body. It was exquisite, but it felt like a cage. She tugged on the bodice, trying to breathe. With the final adjustments done, she glided downstairs. The crowd gasped at her appearance. Camera flashes nearly blinded her. She saw Tari at the far end of the aisle, resplendent in a gold-embroidered agbada. His broad smile carried an undercurrent of triumph, as though he'd already won. Zara's heart pounded as she moved forward. The music swelled, and guests rose from their seats, all eyes on her. Every step felt like trudging through quicksand. She spotted her parents in the front row, her mother dabbing tears with a handkerchief, her father standing rigid. They looked relieved, perhaps believing all their troubles would vanish once she said, "I do." Approaching the altar, Zara forced her gaze to meet Tari's. He offered his hand, and she placed hers atop it. The officiant cleared his throat. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of..." Zara's mind buzzed. Her flash drive was in her purse, which she'd given to a trusted cousin for safekeeping. The audiovisual crew had instructions to play a special clip at her signal. She just had to get through the beginning of the ceremony. Tari leaned in slightly, murmuring, "Relax, my darling. This is our day." His breath brushed her ear, and she repressed a shudder. She glanced beyond him to see security guards stationed near the doors, arms folded. Were they here for show or to trap her? The officiant continued, and the rings were presented. Zara's throat went dry. This was the moment. If she went along, she'd be legally bound to him. If she exposed him now, she risked him shutting it down before the truth could emerge. "Zara Omotayo," the officiant said, "do you take Tari Okonkwo?" She held up a hand, interrupting. A collective gasp swept the crowd. Even Tari stiffened. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every second. Zara cleared her throat, drawing shaky strength from the memory of Santo's injuries. "Before I say, I do, I have something to show you all." The guests murmured in confusion. Tari's eyes narrowed, but Zara refused to look away. She signaled to the AV team. "Play the clip," she said, voice trembling but resolute. A moment later, the giant LED screen behind the altar lit up. First came images of Santo smiling beside Tari, then a series of photos where bruises marked her face. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Another scene followed, documents showing suspicious financial transfers, hush money that trailed back to Tari's companies. Lastly, a short video featured tearful staff testimonies, voices altered to protect their identities. Tari's mother cried out, nearly collapsing in shock. Investors stood abruptly, whispering among themselves. Journalists scrambled to capture every frame. At the altar, Tari's face blanched with fury. Zara dropped the bouquet, her voice quivering with conviction. "I will not marry a monster." Silence blanketed the space for a heartbeat. Then an uproar ensued, guests shouting, cameras flashing, confusion everywhere. Tari's security guards moved in, but it was too late. The world had seen enough. Zara turned on her heel and walked away, ignoring the calls for her to return. Her father rose, reaching out as if to stop her, but she shook her head. Everything was already in motion. She would not be another Santo. Outside, the crisp air hit her cheeks, filling her with a wild sense of freedom. She slipped into a waiting car, which sped off before anyone could stop her. The last image in her mind was Tari's stunned expression, the perfect wedding collapsing around him. By nightfall, Zara's dramatic exit had become the talk of not just Lagos, but the entire country, and soon, the world. Social media exploded with footage of her exposing Tari at the altar, the screen behind them flickering with images of a battered ex-fiancé, shadowy financial documents, and staff confessions. Hashtags like #BrideWhoExposedTheGroom and #GoldenWeddingScandal trended across multiple platforms. In a modest hotel room far from the estate, Zara scrolled through her phone with trembling hands. Her face was everywhere, clips of her interruption, slow-motion recaps, think-piece articles analyzing her courageous stand against power. Supporters hailed her as a feminist icon, someone brave enough to pull back the curtain on a formidable billionaire. Critics questioned her timing, calling it theatrical and self-serving. Either way, she had the world's attention. Her phone buzzed incessantly. An unknown number flashed on the screen. Zara hesitated, then picked up. A female voice, crisp and formal, introduced herself as Tenny from an international news network. "Miss Omotayo, we want to air your story. You'll have complete freedom to speak. Will you grant us an interview?" Zara sighed. She felt exposed, raw, and uncertain. "I need time," she said, ending the call. She wasn't ready to face the public again. She'd made a bold move, but now the gravity of her situation was sinking in. Tari's wrath would be fierce, his resources nearly unlimited. A soft knock on the door startled her. She peered through the peephole and relaxed at the sight of her trusted cousin, Esther. The same cousin who'd safeguarded her purse and flash drive during the wedding. Zara opened the door. "You all right?" Esther asked, eyes brimming with concern. "I'm safe," Zara replied, stepping aside to let her in. "But I feel like I'm living someone else's life now." Esther hugged her tightly. "The entire city is talking about you. Even my friends overseas are calling, asking if I know the runaway bride of Lagos. You've gone viral in the worst and best way. Zara sank onto the bed. I didn't want fame. I wanted truth. Esther nodded, sitting beside her. You've definitely got that. People are digging into Tari's finances now. Some sponsors already pulled out of his projects. A flicker of grim satisfaction crossed Zara's face. She recalled the hush money she'd uncovered, the accounts that linked to potential bribes. Exposing him had felt both terrifying and necessary. She only hoped it was enough to protect her from retaliation. Just then, Zara's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from a number labeled unknown. The message read, "You think you can ruin me? You've made a grave mistake. Now everyone will pay." Her stomach lurched. Tari was threatening her and possibly her family. Esther read over her shoulder and frowned. "We can't ignore this. You need protection." Zara exhaled shakily, remembering the unstoppable reach Tari seemed to have. "I'll contact a lawyer friend in Abuja," she said, trying to project steadiness. "And maybe the authorities if they'll listen." Soon after, there was another knock at the door. Both women stiffened. Esther grabbed the doorknob. "Who is it?" A muffled voice answered, "Room service." They exchanged anxious glances. Esther opened the door just enough to see a uniformed attendant holding a small envelope. "For Miss Omotayo," the attendant said. Esther took the envelope, locked the door again. Zara ripped it open. Inside was a simple note. "Leave the country if you value your life." No signature, no indication of who sent it. A cold sweat broke out on Zara's forehead. Esther paced the room. This is getting serious. He's not even hiding his threats. Zara closed her eyes, the memory of Samto's bruised face flashing through her mind. If Tari had silenced previous victims, he wouldn't hesitate to try again. "We have to move," she whispered. "Somewhere safe at least for now." They hastily packed a bag and hurried downstairs, paying in cash to avoid a paper trail. Outside, the night felt electric with tension. Finding a taxi, they slipped through Lagos's traffic-laden streets until they reached another hotel under a different name. The manager accepted their payment without question. Once they were settled in a small room, Zara felt marginally safer. Hours later, her phone buzzed yet again. This time, a number she recognized. It was Yemi, an old friend from university who worked at a non-profit advocating women's rights. Zara answered hesitantly. "Hello. Zara." Yemi's voice crackled with urgency. "Are you all right? I saw the footage. My organization wants to help you, provide legal counsel, security contacts. And we'd like you to speak at a women's conference about escaping toxic power structures." Zara's lips parted in surprise. "I'm no role model, Yemi. I'm just someone who exposed a monster." "That's exactly why you matter," Yemi pressed. "People need to hear your story. It can save lives." Zara swallowed, tears gathering in her eyes. The fear gnawed at her, but so did the memory of Samto, and the possibility of other women trapped in similar circumstances. "I'll think about it." After the call, Esther turned on the television. Nearly every channel replayed Zara's revelation at the wedding. One anchor dubbed her the runaway viral queen, analyzing her bravery in front of millions. Exhausted, Zara slumped against the wall. The adrenaline that had fueled her was ebbing, replaced by bone-deep weariness. Her phone kept buzzing with messages of both praise and malice. She powered it off. In the quiet that followed, she spoke softly to Esther. "We did the right thing, didn't we?" Esther wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Yes. Samto had no one to fight for her. You stood up for both of you." Zara inhaled, letting a flicker of hope seep through her exhaustion. "We'll keep going then," she murmured. "Because if I stop now, he wins." The next morning arrived with rays of sun peeking through the flimsy curtains. Despite her turmoil, Zara felt a renewed determination. She had managed to escape the altar, and possibly saved her life by exposing Tari. But she knew she couldn't hide forever. His empire was vast, and his ego wounded. Outside, the city hummed with daily life, oblivious to Zara's internal battle. She watched from the window, phone still off, wondering what the day would bring. Despite the threats, a spark of defiance lit her eyes. She had more to say, more to reveal. And if the world was already listening, she might as well speak. The following evening, the world heard Zara's voice once more, but this time, it was through a carefully recorded YouTube video uploaded from a discreet location. Titled, "The Price of Silence: How I Almost Married a Monster," the video began with Zara seated on a simple chair against a plain backdrop, her expression calm but determined. "Hello, everyone," she began, voice resonating with quiet intensity. "My name is Zara Omotayo, and I'm here to tell you why I walked away from my wedding, to a man many of you revere as a successful billionaire." Within the first few hours, the video racked up hundreds of thousands of views. By morning, it had crossed the million mark. In it, Zara explained how her family's debt had cornered her into accepting Tari's proposal. She described the small red flags she initially overlooked: his controlling demeanor, dismissive remarks, and the hush around his personal history. Then she spoke of finding Samto's photograph. The screen cut to images Zara had unearthed: bruises hidden under makeup, forced smiles, and ominous financial transactions pointing to bribery. She mentioned the staff's hushed warnings, the hush money she discovered, and how Samto vanished without a trace. "I nearly ended up the same way," Zara said, leaning forward. "But I refuse to be silent. To every woman who's ever felt trapped by a powerful partner, you are not alone." Viewers watched, riveted. Some left comments praising her courage. Others questioned whether she was fabricating the abuse for fame. Yet the evidence was difficult to dismiss. Her calm, clear delivery carried weight. She named names, contacts in Tari's circle who allegedly helped him keep ugly secrets under wraps. She flashed scans of questionable legal documents, account statements, and testimonies from staff who'd witnessed strange goings-on at the estate. A global audience listened. News outlets picked up her exposé, replaying clips on primetime broadcasts. Women's rights organizations hailed her as a whistleblower, offering support. Calls flooded law enforcement hotlines, urging them to investigate. Yet Tari's camp dismissed her claims as unsubstantiated allegations and emotional blackmail. Hidden in a safe house provided by Yemi's nonprofit, Zara monitored the frenzy. Her phone buzzed with messages of gratitude from strangers, survivors who confided how her story gave them strength to leave their abusers. Others told her to watch her back, warning that Tari would stop at nothing to silence her. Late one night, as Zara paced the small living room of the safe house, Esther handed her the phone. "It's your mother," Esther said quietly. Zara pressed the device to her ear, bracing herself. "Mama?" Her mother's voice trembled. "Zara, what have you done? The press is hounding us. Your father, he's beside himself. Debt collectors are circling." Tears stung Zara's eyes. "Mama, I'm sorry. But I had no choice." Her mother's sobs crackled through the line. "I just want my child safe. I wish you'd found another way." Zara rubbed her forehead. "I know. But I have to finish what I started. If we let Tari intimidate us, who else will he hurt?" Her mother whispered, "Be careful," before the line went dead. Zara stared at the phone, heart heavy. She couldn't save her family from the fallout just yet, but she couldn't back down now. Meanwhile, the police had begun a preliminary investigation. Rumors spread that Tari's travel documents might be flagged. Still, his lawyers lashed out publicly, painting Zara as a jilted gold digger. Debates raged on television panels. Was she an opportunist or a survivor? One afternoon, Yemi rushed in, laptop under her arm. "They're holding a press conference at the Ministry of Justice," she announced. Zara, Esther, and Yemi huddled around the screen as the spokesperson confirmed they'd opened an inquiry into Tari Okonkwo's financial dealings. A wave of relief washed over Zara, tempered by fear of retaliation. A few hours later, Zara's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown contact. "I have information about Samto. Meet me at the old marina docks at midnight." Her pulse sped up. Could it be a trap or real intel? She showed it to Yemi and Esther. "We can't go blindly," Esther said, frowning. "It might be a setup." Yemi nodded. "Agreed. But if it's genuine, you could learn what really happened to Samto." Zara recalled the haunting photo of Somto's battered face and steeled herself. "I'll go," she decided. "But I won't go alone." That night, they drove in a borrowed car, headlights cutting through the darkness along the quiet waterfront. Esther stayed hidden behind shipping containers while Yemi parked at a distance, ready to call for help if things went south. Zara stood under a flickering street lamp, scanning the shadows. A figure emerged from behind crates. "Zara," came a hushed voice. It was a woman wearing a hooded sweatshirt. She approached carefully, pressing a small envelope into Zara's hand. "Read it somewhere safe. Somto was my cousin. She tried to escape. This is her final letter. I've been too scared to come forward." Before Zara could ask more, the woman retreated, vanishing among the stacked containers. Zara exhaled a shaky breath and regrouped with Esther and Yemi. Back at the safe house, she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "If I don't survive, tell the world he did this. Don't let him hurt anyone else." The signature read, "Somto." Zara's vision blurred with tears. "She knew," she whispered. "She tried to warn everyone." They sat in silent sorrow, absorbing the gravity of Somto's last words. For Zara, it reaffirmed everything she was doing. Though fear gnawed at her, she couldn't stop now. If Somto's voice had been silenced once, Zara would make sure it resonated loud and clear through hers. By dawn, the YouTube views had skyrocketed even further, and authorities faced mounting pressure. Investigators formally summoned Tari for questioning. Texts poured in from journalists, activists, and ordinary citizens. In less than 48 hours, Zara had gone from runaway bride to a global whistleblower. Yet the cost was high. She'd lost her home, her sense of security, and possibly her parents' peace of mind. But as she clutched Somto's letter, she felt the faint stirrings of vindication and an iron determination to see this fight through to the end. In a dimly lit office at the Central Police Headquarters, Tari Okonkwo found himself seated across from two stern-faced investigators. Cameras flashed outside as reporters tried to snap images of the reclusive billionaire. His legal team hovered behind him, whispering strategies. None of them could erase the fact that he was now a suspect under active investigation. Zara watched the scene unfold on a news broadcast from the safe house. A headline crawled across the bottom of the screen. Tari Okonkwo questioned over alleged abuse and financial crimes. She clutched the phone that contained all her backups. She had done it, pushed him into the light, where his power could be challenged. Yet she also knew this was just the beginning. Across social media, the public clamored for justice. Former employees of Tari's came forward with allegations of harassment and abuse. Some claimed to have witnessed violent outbursts, while others mentioned backroom deals that skirted the law. The walls around Tari's empire began to crack. Zara's family remained in limbo. Debt collectors still pressured them, and her parents were besieged by paparazzi. Guilt gnawed at Zara as she watched clips of journalists swarming their modest Ibadan home. Her father looked frail, her mother exhausted. Still, they told the media, "We stand by our daughter." It was small comfort, but it buoyed Zara's spirit to see them at least publicly supportive. Meanwhile, Yemi's nonprofit offered Zara a safe haven under a whistleblower protection program. Lawyers affiliated with the group combed through her evidence, building a case. "You have enough to bring him down," they told her. "Stay strong." One crisp morning, as she sipped tea in the safe house living room, her phone rang. An investigator from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission introduced himself. "Miss Omotayo, we're following the money trail you exposed. We'd appreciate more details, bank statements, transaction receipts." Heart-pounding, Zara agreed to meet at a secure location. She arrived with Esther and a lawyer from Yemi's team. The investigator was a middle-aged man with tired eyes, but his handshake was firm. They spent hours poring over documents, Zara explaining each suspicious line item. "This is where I suspect hush money was paid," she said, pointing to a large transfer disguised as consulting fees. The investigator nodded gravely. "We've already frozen 2 of his accounts," he remarked. "He won't flee the country without notice." A flutter of relief mingled with apprehension. She thanked him and left, stepping back into the midday sun feeling like she was inching toward justice. Yet uncertainty clung to her. Tari was cunning, and cornered predators could be the most dangerous. True to form, he launched a media blitz declaring his innocence. Well-paid pundits on certain channels questioned Zara's credibility. But the newly revealed facts were damning. Records of missing persons tied to Tari's staff, large cash withdrawals before sudden breakups with ex-partners, and shocking parallels to Somto's disappearance. Over the course of several tense weeks, rumors swirled that Tari's empire was teetering. Major investors pulled out, his stock prices plummeted, and board members resigned en masse. He was spotted entering government offices more often than corporate events. The tabloids dubbed it the fall of the golden tycoon. Zara followed every update with cautious hope. She still received threats, anonymous messages warning her to retract her statements or face dire consequences. But the public outcry was too loud now. If something happened to her, suspicion would land squarely on Tari. Finally, one afternoon, breaking news headlines flashed across every station. Tari Okonkwo arrested at airport, attempting to flee. Zara's breath caught. The anchor described how authorities had intercepted him at the international terminal. He was led away in handcuffs, refusing to answer reporters' shouted questions. Tears gathered in Zara's eyes. Esther shouted in triumph, hugging her tight, while Yemi pumped a fist in the air. For a moment, Zara felt dizzy with relief. Somto's letter flickered through her mind, the desperate plea that no one else become a victim. Now Tari would face the consequences. In the weeks that followed, Zara worked closely with the authorities, giving official statements and handing over every scrap of evidence. Through it all, she received an outpouring of messages from women worldwide, thanking her for shining a spotlight on hidden abuse. Some shared their own stories, seeking help to break free. Under the whistleblower program, Zara remained guarded, yet she refused to vanish. Instead, she embarked on public speaking engagements, small gatherings at first, then larger conferences where she used her story to advocate for women facing intimidation in powerful marriages. She spoke calmly but passionately, urging them to document the truth, just as she had. Each speech drew more attention, her bravery resonating across borders. At one forum, a young woman approached her backstage, tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "I was afraid to leave my abusive fiancé, but you gave me the courage." She pressed Zara's hands in gratitude before leaving. Moved beyond words, Zara realized her story had taken on a life of its own, empowering countless others to speak out. Meanwhile, Tari languished behind bars, awaiting trial on multiple counts, fraud, conspiracy, and possible charges related to Somto's disappearance. Investigators continued unearthing more evidence. The once mighty empire he'd built on corruption and fear lay in ruins. Standing on a podium one afternoon, Zara concluded a panel discussion by quoting Somto's final words. "If I don't survive, tell the world he did this. Don't let him hurt anyone else." A hush fell over the crowd as Zara took a steadying breath. "That's why I'm here, to honor her voice, and to remind everyone that silence only protects monsters. We can't let them hide behind money or status anymore." Applause thundered. Cameras flashed, capturing the woman who had once been a quiet law graduate from Ibadan, now a leading voice for justice. She bowed her head, tears glinting at the corners of her eyes. In that moment, Zara felt Somto's presence, an unspoken gratitude for carrying on what she could not. And she felt her own heart surge with triumph. No matter how harrowing the journey, she had found a way to turn her pain into power. Her final words to the audience echoed her new purpose. "If your silence protects a monster, then your voice can destroy him." The end. If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.